All you Christians out there speaking the crap about, hey, we don't want to hear all the information. We don't want to hear all of the work that you went in talking, all the books by people who existed at that time. What Christianity is now, those weren't the real Christians. That's the excuse. That's the mind programming. Those weren't the real Christians. We're the real Christians. Well, your Bible itself says, each after their own kind. Men do not gather grapes from thorns, nor figs from thistles. Read Matthew 7 and 16. But also go to Luke chapter 6, verses 43 and 44. For every tree is known by its fruits, and a corrupt tree bringeth not forth good fruits. Wait a minute now. All you Bible thumpers, I'm going to your Bible. And I'm going to repeat, go to Luke chapter 6. Because you believe this bullshit. But we're going to go to the book now. For every tree is known by its fruits. The tree of Christianity, as it is practiced for the last 2,000 years, was planted in the soil of ignorance, of murder, watered with the blood of innocence, sprouted and spread its poisonous fruits across the land, exported it to countries at the point of a sword. And in your Luke it states to you that stupid argument to tell me that you are the Christians real now, but those weren't the Christians false back then. That the Catholics are not us. Oh, the Catholic is the church of Satan. We the real church. Where in the hell do you think you got this Bible from? But wait. Let's just take it a little bit deeper. Let's go into the Old Testament. We touched the New Testament. Let's go to the Old Testament and hear what they got to say about what Christianity was then and what you believe it is now. Let's go to Job chapter 14, verse 4. And it says, no one can bring a clean thing out of an unclean. Check. No one can bring a clean thing out of an unclean thing. And Christianity is the filthiest, the bloodiest. You're going to see how filthy when we start quoting from this book called Dirty. Oh, I went real deep. So the cause of truth and piety cannot be advanced by deceit and lies. These only bear fruit after their kind. Listen to me, brothers and sisters. The cause of truth and piety cannot be advanced by deceit and lies. They bring fruit after their kind. And this is exactly what this society reflects today. We have been eating on the fruit of religion and Christianity. We have been nurtured by this poison, and so every part of our thinking process has been polluted. Everything that you learn in school, everything you go to science to study, everything you go to the medical schools to study has been tainted, was started on the vine that Christianity planted. The fall of man and the salvation of man through Jesus Christ is a monumental fraud. There is no Jesus Christ. Never was a Jesus Christ. And I say that with all knowledge. I don't say it with a faith that I know there's another Redeemer. The only Redeemer is here sitting in this room. Us. We redeem ourselves from our stupidity. We redeem God. God don't redeem you. If you understood what God was, God is a malicious, unfeeling, unconscious force that we bring consciousness to by our existence. We are the civilizers of God. And that's some kind of something like, whoa, where you, Reverend Valentine has lost it. We civilize God. Only we can understand morality. Can you talk about morality from a God that just wiped out a half of a continent of people praying to Christianity? Where was Jesus about 25 years after his assumed presence on earth when Pompeii blew up and wiped out that whole city? That's your God. God is. It is an unfeeling, unthinking, unconscious entity of force. That's all you can say it is. That which we are is God in acknowledgement of itself. We put the civilizing energy into God. It is us that will redeem ourselves from the ignorance and our ignorant acts. Isaac de Casaubon, the ecclesiastical scholar, quoted in Taylor's Diegesis, page 44, as well as in Gill's Hebrew and Christian Records, volume 2, page 19, and writes, "It mightily affects me to see how many there were in the early times of the church who considered it a capital exploit to lend to heavenly truth the help of their own inventions, in order that their new doctrine of Christianity might be more palpable, readily allowed by the wise among the Gentiles. These officious lies, they were wont to say, were devised for a good cause." Again, from Taylor's Syntagma, page 52, he quotes the Orthodox Christian scholar and Englishman Dr. P. Burnett from his thesis De Statu Mortuorum. Quote, "He purposely wrote his thesis in Latin that it might serve for the instruction of the clergy only, and not come to the knowledge of the laity, because too much light is hurtful for weak eyes." He not only justified but recommended the consummate hypocrisy of Christianity, and urged the clergy seriously to preach and maintain the doctrine of secrecy, the reality and the eternity of hell's torments, to maintain the fact that there was a hell when there was not, even though they themselves should believe of no such thing in kind. This bullshit can be read by the work of Eusebius himself, and I wrote the word bullshit there. He writes a ridiculous story about a king named Agabus, who wrote a letter to Jesus, and what Jesus wrote back in reply. This was in the Ecclesiastical Histories, Book 1, Chapter 14. Now here's a gem for you good Christians to check up on. Paul, the so-called apostle, admits to forging, lying, and deceiving for the sake of Christ. Let's turn to Corinthians 12, verse 16. Talk amongst yourselves. "And be spent with you, though the more abundantly I love you, the less I be loved." 16. "But be it so, I did not burden you, nevertheless, being crafty, I taught you with guile." Oh! It's in your Bible. Oh, we ain't even got to the meat yet. 2 Corinthians. "But they not only lied, deceived, and committed forgery, the apostle fathers absolutely destroyed all evidence against them and their crimes. They destroyed all evidence of the bogusness of their religion. If there is anything that is certain about the church fathers and Christianity, is that they always seem to be afraid of too much light being shed upon them and their true history. And remember what your apostle John said in the 3rd chapter, verse 19 and 20. Let's read it out loud for all you good Christians to hear. We'll go to John. Verse 19 and 20, John chapter 3. "And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men loved darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil." 20. "For every one that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved." Everything about Christianity and its beginnings have been buried in the Vatican, away from the light. And what did they tell you about those who bury the truth? They hateth, because their deeds are evil. I myself, here and now, in all the subjects that I attempt to teach to you, ascribe wholeheartedly to John 3. that you got to come out into the light. Which reminds me that I know this tape goes down to different places because I get calls from all over the country about these brothers and their tapes. And there's some people down in Atlanta who's spreading some vicious gossip about me. And I want to put it out to them. I think I know who it is. Now, the gossip went by way of Chicago to New Jersey and then got to me. See, they don't know who I know. And they don't know that there's certain people that's very close to me that already know who I am and what I do. Now, I ain't never pretended to you that I was holier than thou, was I? Did I ever tell you that I walked on water? And that I was all this goody two